In the fading light of a summer evening, as the vast American plains stretched out like an endless canvas of gold and green, a lone traveler named Ethan gripped the steering wheel of his weathered pickup truck, his mind heavy with the echo of an empty home he had left behind. Years ago, he had lost his wife to a sudden illness, and the road had become his only companion, a way to outrun the silence that haunted him. Little did he know that on this dusty stretch of Route 66 in Oklahoma, a simple glance at a plume of smoke rising from the roadside would pull him into a story of shared vulnerability, one that would mend not just a broken engine, but fractured hearts, including his own. The Harper family had set out from their cozy suburb in Chicago with high hopes for a classic American road trip to the Grand Canyon. Sarah, the optimistic mother with a laugh that could brighten any room, had packed enough snacks and games to keep everyone entertained. Her husband, Ben, a hard-working accountant who rarely took time off, drove with a determined focus, dreaming of showing their children the wonders of the world beyond their backyard. Little Ava, 8 years old and full of boundless energy, chattered endlessly about spotting wild animals, while her younger brother, Noah, 5 and shy, clutched his favorite stuffed bear, whispering secrets to it during the long hours. They were the picture of everyday joy, until the engines sputtered and died without warning, stranding them on the shoulder of the highway with no cell signal and the sun dipping low. Panic set in quickly. Ben popped the hood, staring at the maze of hoses and wires as if willing them to fix themselves, but the acrid smell of overheating metal told him this was beyond his skills. Sarah tried to keep the kids calm, pulling out a deck of cards for a game, but Ava's eyes welled with tears as she asked why they couldn't just go home. Noah huddled closer to his mother, his small frame trembling in the growing chill of dusk. Miles from the nearest town, with traffic sparse and night approaching, the family felt the weight of isolation pressing down. Ben paced, frustration building as he imagined the ruined vacation, the wasted savings, and worst of all, the fear in his children's faces that he couldn't erase. That's when Ethan's truck rumbled into view. He had seen the smoke from afar and slowed down instinctively, his years on the road teaching him that help was often the difference between a minor setback and a true crisis. Pulling over, he stepped out, his boots crunching on the gravel. Ethan was in his late 40s, with salt and pepper hair and a quiet strength earned from a life of fixing things. First as a mechanic in his hometown of Denver, then as a wanderer repairing whatever crossed his path. He approached cautiously, hands visible, and called out that he meant no harm, just wanted to see if they needed a hand. Ben eyed him warily at first, but Sarah's warm smile broke the tension. She explained the breakdown, and Ethan nodded, rolling up his sleeves to take a look. The radiator had cracked, leaking fluid everywhere, a common issue on these old family vans pushed too hard in the heat. It wasn't a quick fix, they'd need parts from a shop, and with no service stations for at least 30 miles, towing wasn't an option without a hefty bill they couldn't afford. As Ethan tinkered, wiping sweat from his brow, the kids watched him with wide eyes. Ava ventured a question about whether he was a superhero in disguise, and Ethan chuckled softly, the sound surprising even him after so many solitary days. The real challenge came as thunder rumbled in the distance, dark clouds gathering like uninvited guests. A storm was rolling in fast, the kind that turned these flatlands into a muddy trap. Ethan suggested they all pile into his truck to head to the nearest town, Elk Ridge, where he knew a mechanic who owed him a favor. Ben hesitated, pride stinging at the thought of accepting help from a stranger, but Sarah's gentle nudge reminded him that their safety came first. They transferred what they could, bags, the kids' toys, a cooler of melting sandwiches, and squeezed in, Noah perching on his sister's lap in the back seat. As they drove through the gathering rain, conversation flowed like the rivulets on the windshield. Sarah shared how this trip was meant to celebrate Ben's recent promotion, a chance to make memories after a tough year of financial strains. Ben admitted his worry about providing for his family, his voice cracking slightly in the dim cab light. Ethan listened, then opened up in a way he hadn't in years. He spoke of his late wife, Clara, how her kindness had been the glue in their life together, and how her passing left him adrift, choosing the road over facing an empty house. The kids hung on every word, Ava reaching out to pat his arm when he paused, her small gesture a spark of pure compassion that caught him off guard. In Elk Ridge, the mechanic's shop was closed for the night, but Ethan's old friend, upon a late call, opened up. While the van was towed in and assessed, The group found shelter at a modest motel, the rain now pounding relentlessly. Ethan insisted on covering the room, waving off their protests with a gruff assurance that it was nothing. Over shared pizza in the cramped lobby, bonds deepened. Noah, usually so reserved, showed Ethan his bear, explaining how it kept him brave during storms. Ethan, moved, shared a story from his youth about getting lost on a family hike and finding his way back through sheer determination, a tale that mirrored their current plight and subtly foreshadowed the resilience they would all discover. The emotional twist hit the next morning. As the mechanic worked on the van, Sarah confided in Ethan that Noah had a mild heart condition, nothing life-threatening but enough to make long delays in remote areas risky. The breakdown had amplified her fears, turning a simple trip into a nightmare of what-ifs. Ethan felt a pang, remembering Clara's final days in the hospital, how helplessness had consumed him. Determined not to let history repeat in any form, he dove in deeper, sourcing a rare part from his own contacts across state lines, even driving 2 hours to pick it up himself while the family rested. By afternoon, the van roared back to life, the repair bill far less than expected thanks to Ethan's negotiations. But the true fix was in the hearts mended along the way. Ben shook Ethan's hand firmly, gratitude shining in his eyes, admitting that the stranger's help had restored his faith in people during a moment of doubt. Sarah hugged him tightly, whispering thanks for being the guardian they didn't know they needed. Ava drew a quick picture of them all as a road family, and Noah, in a burst of courage, gave Ethan a small rock from the roadside, calling it a lucky charm to keep him company on his travels. As the Harpers drove off toward the Grand Canyon, waving until they were specks on the horizon, Ethan stood there, the weight on his chest lighter than it had been in years. He realized that in helping them, he had helped himself, heal from isolation, rediscover the warmth of connection that Clara had always championed. The road ahead no longer felt so lonely, it brimmed with possibilities for more such encounters. This true adventure reminds us that in the vast tapestry of life, a single act of kindness can bridge the widest divides, turning strangers into saviors and hardships into hope. If this story touched your heart, give it a like, subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories for more uplifting tales, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of the good in the world. Together, we can spread the power of empathy and compassion, one story at a time.